Who's going to be the Ducks' next All-Star? We'll find out on this episode of Locked On Anaheim Ducks.
You're Locked On Ducks, your daily podcast on the Anaheim Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome, everydayer. Thanks for making Locked On Anaheim Ducks your first listen every day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. I'm Kyle Carr. I'm a lifelong Anaheim Ducks fan, and I've spent multiple years covering collegiate sports, including college hockey. But today we are talking about the Anaheim Ducks. Got a couple player grades to dive into. We're going to get into just who may be sticking around and who's going to be a new all-star on the Anaheim Ducks squad. And then we got to dive into just how much bad luck Anaheim has when it comes to the draft lottery. Happy Cinco de Mayo to everyone who celebrates, and I hope that the 4th was with you yesterday. A little update on regards to the coaching carousel hunt that the Ducks have right now. Before we dive into anything, there is an unfortunate announcement that was made by Denver University. David Carl will be signed. Well, he signed a multiple year contract with Denver Hockey, and so he will not be coming to the NHL. He will be staying out there in Denver. So that is another coach scratched off the list for Anaheim, as Mike Sullivan went off to New York with the Rangers. So only a few options left there. But let's dive into some player grades, and I'm going to tell you just who I think has the opportunity to make a huge impact for his own career and really get the ability to have a large contract given to him by Anaheim, and that is Jansen Harkins. We'll get into his numbers here real quick from this season. I know probably not the guy you're thinking, but the way that this guy plays, I really like his style, and his numbers could improve in the next couple of years, but we'll get into that. So looking at this year, 62 games played for Jansen. He had 2 goals with 4 assists for a total of 6 points. He was minus 13 down on that 4th line with Lundestrom, kind of struggling there. 21 penalty minutes, 0 power play goals, 0 power play assists, 0 shorthanded goals, 0 shorthanded assists. He did have 1 game-winning goal, which is nice. 0 in overtime, though. And he had 49 shots with a 4.1 shot percentage. He did take 219 faceoffs, as he's slated to be a center, but he mostly played winger this year, and he won 117 of those. So he had the highest faceoff win percentage of all the forwards with a 53.4%. But being that he's not really a main center, that's why I haven't really listed him there as the winner. I give that to Mason McTavish. He had 136 hits, 41 block shots, 15 takeaways, 38 giveaways, and his time on ice per game average was 10 minutes and 56 seconds, the highest season average of his career so far. So there are improvements happening with Jansen Harkins, which is good to hear. He's only, I don't want to say only, but he is 27, and he plays that 4th line grinder position with a smile, figuratively, of course. But he's one of those guys that when you need someone to just play their role and, enjoy it and go out there without complaining, he's that guy. He's a big body out there, and he really plays that 4th line style fairly well. And I feel like with new coaching, that's obviously only going to increase. Getting someone that can really utilize the 4th line properly, and it's only going to go up for him. He did have a pretty up and down season with Pittsburgh last year, playing in the AHL and the NHL. And then finally the Ducks this year in the offseason, they signed him to a 2-year contract. So he's locked in for at least next season. And he came over. I felt like he played really well. He started out down in San Diego, um, played a few games. He did pretty all right down there, and so that he brought him up. They brought him up here to play with the big league and put him in the NHL squad. And he's one of those players that, yeah, he's not going to be the most offensive sound player. Yes, I would like to see that defense get locked up when you're the fourth line. I talked about this when I was talking about Isaac Lundestrom. Kind of difficult when you are that grinding line. You're kind of out there. Usually you go out against top players or top lines and you're trying to just shut them down and play physical, put the body on them, get them hemmed in the offensive zone, cause a ruckus, and then just get off the ice quickly. Let the big bodies come on like Leo Carlson and Gauthier and get them out there to try and get some offense. But he does it. He just does that so well. He's not afraid to use his body. 6'1", 199. Definitely uses his big frame in the corners. He's at 100 and what was that? 36 hits, like complete body out there. Knows how to use the forecheck well. He causes a ton of havoc. Just gets the defense worn down. Gets the opposing players basically just looking over their shoulder, trying to, they hear the feet coming, and after a few hits, they're going to start getting a little questionable in the corner. And then you bring out those big top line guys, and that's what the fourth liners do. So I see him really just establishing himself here in next year with Anaheim. It's an opportunity for him. It's a kind of a prove it year with that contract ending. If he can have just really lock down defense and continue to play that fourth line style and cut down the defense, cut down the big top lines from those other teams, get engaged in there, he's going to be able to possibly get himself a decent deal here with Anaheim as they're building towards that playoff style of hockey. He does have playoff experience with Winnipeg, so he can bring that knowledge and that experience as well into the locker room. And I just felt like he really established himself well with this team in those 62 games. 20 games that he didn't play with the squad. Some of it was because of starting down in San Diego. Others, he would kind of swap in and out of the lineup, sometimes switching with Ross Johnston or Nestorenko, just depending on how Cronin wanted to utilize that fourth line that game. However, I out of all the fourth liners, I felt like he was one of the more consistent show up guys that, again, was not afraid to use the body. He blocks shots, he gets hits, and he can be utilized with some of those top guys as they come out on the ice. And if he does get stuck out there with those guys, he's still able to make good plays. And I just really see the ability for him to get locked in with Anaheim. There's so much potential with him coming up in this next season and getting that contract signed for the future and getting some playoff experience in the locker room and sharing it with the rest of the team. And hopefully, they're in that postseason next year. That's really what we want from the squad. So for his grade, I want to give him a C- on offense, mainly because, yeah, he didn't really get that much in regards to points. He's had better seasons, but because of that forecheck, the way he can lock down teams in their own defensive zone, I really enjoy that. That's what the Ducks need. They need that physicality, especially if they're going to be going into the postseason. I give him a D+ on defense, though. Kind of struggled there, -13, little issues when he's on the PK. Would like to see some more discipline and just basically applying the fundamentals a little bit more. And that's a lot of that is going to come from better coaching. So overall, I give him a grade of C-. Not a bad grade, not the best grade. I know I'm sitting here saying that, oh, this is a guy that's going to be able to get a big contract with Anaheim. That will come with next year's performance as well. We can't just rate this year's performance, and the style of play that he has fits a need that the Ducks have, and the fact that he is center trained and he can play a winger position. He obviously is moldable. He's obviously one of those guys that he can be put in any situation and he's going to perform and he's going to do his job. He's going to do his role. And sometimes that's just all you need from a player. You don't always need top niche, quick hands, Zegras type players. You need guys that are role players and will do the dirty work when needed. So coming up next, we're going to get into who I think is going to be an all-star for the Ducks for a very long time. Do you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you just keep managing. You stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Little tongue twister for myself there. And that's because I just love talking about Monarch Money. I get so excited. The the ability for me to keep track of my finances has completely changed. I am not an accountant whatsoever. And yeah, I've taken accounting 101, but that's about as much as my accounting goes. So when it comes to Monarch Money, having everything right there in my face, all just easy to see and everything tracked, it saves me a ton of stress and headache and time. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. This episode is also brought to you by Gametime. The Stanley Cup playoffs are here, and if you've never been to a live NHL playoff game, it's unlike anything else. The intensity, the speed, the energy in the building, it is next level. And thanks to Gametime, getting in the door is easier and more affordable than ever. Gametime is the fastest way to grab playoff tickets, even for those must-see matchups. Prices actually drop as puck drop gets closer, and with last-minute deals, you can save up to 60% off. The things that I love about Gametime, that priority, last minute deals, saving up to 60% off when you get towards the last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater. Yes, the playoffs are going on right now, but not in Anaheim. So they've got concerts galore happening. Go pick up some tickets on Gametime. It's super easy. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So we're going to get into someone that I am so excited to talk about, and I've just been loving this player out on the team. He just came up from the AHL this year and completely stood out to me as one of the younger cats coming up through the pipeline, and that is none other than Sam Colangelo. This guy made such a great impact when he came back up. He started the season out in San Diego as well, and we'll get into all of his numbers here, but this is a guy that will definitely be an all-star in Anaheim for quite some time, and his performance this year just marked that as a check in the box staple type player. He had 32 games played this year with 10 goals, 2 assists for a total of 12 points. Just lit it up when he got up here. -4 in the plus minus, so a little work there, but he's a younger cat. He's got 2 penalty minutes, so 1 penalty the entire season. 2 power play goals, 0 power play assists, 0 shorthanded goals, 0 shorthanded assists. He did have 1 game winner as well, but it was not in overtime. He had 41 shots and 24.4 shot percentage, 4 faceoff wins, 15 faceoffs so that gives him a faceoff win percentage of 26.7 with 67 hits, 17 block shots, 1 takeaway, 17 giveaways, and a total ice average for a game of 12 minutes and 29 seconds. And like I said, he started the season down in San Diego this year, and boy, did he light the AHL up. He played 40 games with San Diego, had 22 goals, 18 assists for a total of 40 points. That's right. That is a point per game player, and he was plus 11. Completely domination down there in San Diego with the goals. He did have a 4-goal game streak with Anaheim in March. He had 5 goals during that stretch, and I thought he was just going to keep going. I didn't think it was going to stop. He was out of the lineup for a little bit, comes up for a game, and just kept score. It was really fun to watch. He played absolutely well with McTavish and Cutter Goche when they were all together, the Mac and C's line. And then even when Zegras swapped with Cutter Goche, it worked out as well. Zegras and Colangelo were playing kind of more of that finesse skill style, but then also Colangelo and McT were playing that physical style. I really liked the second line they kind of bounced being the third line and the second line. But when Zegras, McTavish, and Colangelo were a unit together, they were really, I really, really liked the way they played. Great forecheck, great offense. They were skilled, fast. They were not afraid to get in those corners. Their 50-50 puck battles were good. There was a bunch of games at the end of towards the end of the season, where the Anaheim goal scoring all started from that line, just hemming in the D, just working. And his ability to play that F3 position, F2, F1, like wherever he needs to be on the ice, he plays it with a really heads up style of play. He's got great vision out there. I really like his hands. And obviously, he has the ability to put the puck in the back of the net when he wants to. Having a 24.4 shot percentage is pretty decent. One of the highest ones on the team this year. So the ladder, the ceiling, it's just going to keep going up and up and up for Colangelo, especially if he can come in and have a full season next year. The thing about him is he's not really he's one of those players. Yes, he has that college experience, and then he has the AHL experience. He's kind of outgrown the AHL now, though. I mean, with how well he was doing down there, you're almost sometimes players like you're not developing at that point. You just need to keep working hard and making sure that you're getting more of the NHL reps. And I think that's really all Sam Colangelo needs is NHL rep. Just keep playing that NHL level of play, and he's just going to keep going up and up and up. Complete skill player, and like I said, he's not afraid to get physical, and he's just going to keep getting used to playing against these NHL players. He's 6'2". He's like at 210 basically, and he's going to be hitting the gym this offseason with all the boys. He really established himself as well in the locker room. Seems like he's one of the boys now, part of that crew, that younger group of players that's all just growing up together. Complete utter domination from him when as a new player. And looking at the way that the Anaheim team is growing and the way that they're heading in this trajectory of making the playoffs in the very near future, this is a guy that Anaheim definitely needs to lock up. Yes, his defensive play needs a little work there, being -4, but that's just going to come with all the repetitions and having a more full season, being used to that full play time. And yes, the big part that I keep mentioning is it's all going to come down to better head coaching. And that is up for grabs right now. It is uncertain who the Ducks are going to hire, but if they bring in a veteran guy that's been in here and has playoff success and development success, then this is one of the kids that they're definitely going to love as a coach. Show me a kid that has better personality, better ability to come up and play big minutes and just took the AHL time down there without, with no stress. Like he accepted it, no complaints. He puts his time in the AHL, comes up to the NHL, goes back down, comes back up, goes back down for the end of the season there. Clearly Anaheim has put a lot of emphasis and time into this guy, and I don't see them getting rid of him. They need to have him in. And the just the overall, like, his personality, his mentality, I really like it. So let's get into that grade for him. I give him an A in offense, an A minus in defense, and an overall grade of A. I was very, very pleased with Sam Colangelo. I want to see the future for this kid. I cannot wait to see it. And I know it's going to be bright. It's going to be real fun to see, how many years you see the All-Star weekend and there's teams with multiple guys. That is going to be Anaheim soon. They're going to have guys. You got McTavish coming up, Zegras. You've got Cutter Gauthier, Leo Carlson, Sam Colangelo. This is going to be the core group of players here for a very long time. And it's just an exciting time for the future, especially with Sam Colangelo part of that crew. But talking about the future, we got to talk about the draft lottery, and we'll get into that coming up. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. There's just fast and easy hiring on it. Posting a job is free and simple, and within a day even, you get multiple qualified candidates to choose from. It's cost-effective growth. Instead of hiring full-time, you can do affordable top-tier freelancing, any type of thing that you need to scale your business efficiently. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com, to connect with top talent and grow your business today. And so today, May 5th, we had the draft lottery. It was on ESPN. Very interesting television, trying to make a 30-minute TV show or live event about a bunch of balls floating in the air and then them coming out and trying to make it epic and stuff. There was some weird moments in that draft lottery, but the one thing that I can take away from that when it comes to Anaheim is the Ducks have zero luck when it comes to the draft lottery. I don't know what the issue is. I don't know if we just don't have. They're like, you know what? They're living out in Orange County. They don't need any extra luck. They're fine. They got enough good stuff going on in their lives. They don't need this extra draft lottery improvement. So the draft lottery happens, right? And the Ducks, they were slotted at 8th after their results from the season this year. So the 8th best odds, they should, if they stayed, they should be at 8th for the overall pick when the draft comes around. Well, during the live draft lottery, the Ducks lost their ability to jump up because every team has the opportunity to jump up 10 spaces at the most. And that would have put the Ducks, they had that opportunity to go all the way to the first overall pick. That would have been absolutely insane. But they get bounced out the third ball out of 4. So what the league does is each team gets like a code of number. There's 14 balls. They get a code that says what your your like number code is. So if you get these 4 balls, that's your team. If you get so each team had their code, and there's like all the combinations that could possibly happen. Well, the Ducks get bounced out after the 1, 2, third ball comes through. They have no chance to move up in the first overall pick position. It goes to the New York Islanders. Well, then they have a second draw, same thing. They get all the balls going, and they pick 4, and the Ducks get bounced from that one. And the Utah Hockey Club wins that one. They go from the 14th position to the 4th because of that 10 jumps rule. So they go to the 4th. San Jose goes to the 2nd. So they were first overall. They jumped down to 2nd. And because of those 2 teams from behind Anaheim that bounced up to those top positions, Anaheim bounces from 8th to 10th. So since Anaheim has been in the draft lottery, so 2018, the Ducks were in the playoffs. They're not part of the draft lottery. Ever since then, the Ducks have not moved up in the lottery whatsoever. They've stayed in their positions for a couple years, but they weren't positions that helped. Like they weren't the best there. The one year that the Ducks wanted to stay, they dropped. So a little history on the draft lottery since 2018, because that year the Ducks were in the playoffs. In 2019, they went from 8th to 9th. In 2020, they went from 5th overall to 6th overall. In 2021, they went from 2nd overall to 3rd overall. In 2022, they remained at 10th overall. And in 2023, everyone knows this, the big upset, the Connor Bedard draft year, they went from 1st overall to 2nd overall. However, the Ducks did get Leo Carlsson out of that draft, and I am not upset about that whatsoever. Love you, Connor Bedard, but boy, do I love Leo Carlsson. And then in 2024, they stayed at 3rd, and this year they slipped 2 spaces down to 10th. Just no luck for Anaheim in the draft lottery. I don't know what the problem is. Like I said, maybe they just think the hockey gods are like, you get to go literally to hockey games and it's like 70 degrees outside. Yeah, fine. But looking at the 10th overall position, one of the players now that it's set in stone, the Ducks are 10th overall. I think that the Ducks could use this as a trade ammunition. Basically, any of the teams that are below Anaheim trying to move up, say a team that's in the playoffs right now, they want to jump up to a 10th spot because they're trying to get someone, and the Ducks they got someone that the Ducks want. That it's just some trade ammo there. That I see that being a possibility, especially the way Pat Verbeek's going and the growth and the strength of the Anaheim Ducks prospect pool. But if they do decide to stay and try to draft someone that keeps showing up on pretty much every draft simulation that I've seen so far, from even before the draft lottery to now post draft lottery, this player that could be Anaheim's target is Jackson Smith. He's a Canadian player. He plays on the Tri-City Americans in the WHL. And this year he had 54 points in 68 games. And he also had 5 points in the under 18 World Junior Championships. So they're solid player there. He plays center. He's a bigger kid as well. Got some skills. 10th overall. Not a bad choice for Anaheim, and he's just going to be developing as well, considering how young he is. So there's a lot of potential there. We'll keep track of that. I'll keep going into some draft simulations coming up and talking about some of the prospects that Anaheim may be drafting, maybe some trades that Anaheim can target. And obviously we got to finish our player grades. We're almost wrapped up with the forwards, and we'll get into the defense as soon as we wrap those guys up, and then headed to the goalies. So lots of stuff to keep talking about. I know it's playoff hockey. There's a lot of stuff going on outside of Anaheim, but there's also a lot of good things and a lot of exciting things to talk about within the Ducks organization. And we'll keep track of that. And we gotta keep track of the head coach hunt. And that will be immediately on Locked On Ducks as soon as that's announced. So make sure you keep tuning in so you can find out just who the Anaheim Ducks hire. And thank you for making Locked On Anaheim Ducks your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On NHL Game Night. Every game, every night until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, and that's where you can find this. Go like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Be good out there, and watch out for the revenge of the 6th. I'm Kyle Carr. Be good out there.